Rocco's back. He's stalking Harley here in the field since he got left off the lead. I feel like there may be violence today. We'll see how they get on. Let's talk about young people and social media. I'm no expert, but I have some experience in digital marketing, mainly with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a little bit of Snapchat. But I'm interested in all of it and have been for a long time. If you're watching this and you're thinking people in Ireland might be a small bit backwards, you're wrong. Have a look at some of the social media and tech companies that have operations in HQ over here. A lot of people work in the industry. Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Apple, they're all over here. Now they're mainly here for tax reasons, but that's a different story. Here's a screenshot also of a piece from the Irish Times a few months before the girls were killed, talking about the Yellow app and the dangers and predators. I might come back and talk about that again. It's not all leprechauns and straw houses over here, trust me. We're up to date on this sort of thing, and our young people are up to date. And the reason I first started working in digital marketing was just a fascination with it. And social media in general. The most important thing with all this is the damage it is doing to the mental health of young people is incredible. This is going on for a while now. It's destroying their mental health, and it just kind of goes under the radar. This is a graph from the Royal Society of Public Health, and it shows the impact on social media on young people. It was a good study done. YouTube is the only one that has a positive effect on mental health. All the rest negative. And Instagram and Snapchat are on another level, especially Instagram. Instagram got a lot worse a few years back when they stole the story idea from Snapchat. Everyone has stolen that idea since. But that really helped intensify stuff and kind of hurt Snapchat's growth a bit. But the damage Instagram is doing to young people's mental health is astonishing. It's astonishing to me that we just accept it. I don't think people will fully grasp the damage that has been done at the moment and the last few years until years from now. And you all know about it, the fake lives, the feeling you have when you come off Instagram after you see everyone's amazing lives and what they're up to. You just feel like shit about yours. It's depressing. Snapchat is still the place to go to for nudes and dodgy conversations because they tell you if the other person took a screenshot. They snitch. And it just feels like a safer place to talk about that stuff rather than Instagram. Instagram does have that feature on as well, but only if you screenshot disappearing messages, which means the text that you send will disappear after 24 hours. And you'll see lots of young people in their Instagram bios actually have their Snapchat usernames in there. It might be next to a picture of a ghost. That's kind of the Instagram emoji for Snapchat. A lot of young people will initially meet on Instagram and then take the conversation over to Snapchat. And I think Kegan said that that's what he used to do as well. But that's not just predators, that's pretty common amongst young people. They feel a bit safer over there because the other person isn't going to screenshot because it will tell you if they did it. So they're not going to be showing pictures or messages to their friends in theory. Because every now and again an app comes up that saves the conversations or pictures from Snapchat. Then Snapchat will go out of their way to try and delete that. Or there might be a glitch in the app where you can do it, but it's like cat and mouse always. Snapchat needs that. It needs it, otherwise it will fall away. Then there is the public stories on Snapchat and Instagram. The disappearing ones after 24 hours. You're not sending it to a specific individual. You're just putting it public. This is the same one that Twitter has stolen. YouTube doesn't know as well. Facebook does it. I think still Snapchat is the only platform that snitches. So if I put something up on my public Snapchat story, you take a screenshot of that, Snapchat will notify me that you took a screenshot. The same if you took a screen recording. Snapchat will let me know, blah de blah, recorded this. And the main two for public stories is Snapchat and Instagram. Twitter cancelled it, it doesn't even do it anymore. And the only thing really keeping Snapchat in the game is the snitching, the way it tells people and the kind of dirty side of it. That and the fact that you can't put anything on Snapchat unless you're there. It has to be live. Whereas on Instagram stories and other stories, I could upload something from my camera roll I took yesterday and make it look like I'm there right now. Whereas on Snapchat, you can't do that. You have to be there. Every now and again, you get like filters and stuff that let you bypass that. But the same way people are screenshotting, it's like cat and mouse. Eventually, Snapchat will shut that down. They just want you using it when you're live, when you're in a location. Because it's better then when you're kind of looking at it because you're like, oh, this person is there right now. That's what they're looking at right now. Not that's what they were looking at last summer. And because it's live and because it disappears after 24 hours, it's one of the first things that young people look at because they don't want to miss out. They don't want to miss something. Snapchat would never say it, but the nude side of it, that's one of the main reasons why this popped in the first place. People sending nudes to each other. Sort of like Facebook back when it was a college directory and they updated it with relationship status. And all of a sudden, everybody was logging on, checking on everybody else to see who was single and who wasn't. Like in one way or another, a lot of these social media apps, the initial growth spurt that they have links back in some way to sex and people hooking up. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, they all have it. But back to young people and social media. Have you ever watched a young person open their phone and the apps they go to first? I have. I have a bit of a creeper story here for you. I'm not quite on Tony Klein's level, but it is people watching. So every day for about a year and a half after work, I used to get the bus home to where I was living. And one of my favourite things to do on the bus was put in my headphones, listen to music, and I'd see people getting on the bus, sitting down, and I liked watching what apps they opened first when they took out their phone. Big difference between young people and middle-aged and older people, but it was fascinating for me to see which apps they opened first, second, third, the whole kind of journey they went on. I can't make out the text messages or conversations or anything like that, but I can see the apps. I know by the logos and the layouts what apps they're on. I haven't done any of this since COVID, so I assume now things have changed a little bit. TikTok has definitely gone up the ladder, but that would only come in the kind of settling down phase of the journey, a kind of long term when you're settling in. And I'd love to know from you in the comments, if you get on a bus or public transport or an aeroplane, what is the first app you'll open on your phone? Obviously, everyone is different, but with young people, they all seem to have the same journey for a while. This is about 2 years ago now. It would be Snapchat direct messages, then over to Instagram direct messages, then back to Snapchat public stories, then Instagram public stories, then maybe WhatsApp groups, then Instagram feeds, Twitter feeds, maybe a Facebook feed. They're not logging onto Facebook much. If they settle into the journey and they want something longer, it would be YouTube or TikTok. I imagine now maybe TikTok is first. And those little steps seem to be very, very common amongst the people that I would see. The first kind of 4 all being Snapchat and Instagram. So Snapchat direct messages, Instagram direct messages, Snapchat public stories, Instagram public stories. They're not even looking at the Instagram feed for a while. They might have a check off WhatsApp groups or Twitter before they'll even look at an Instagram feed, the homepage on Instagram. A lot of young people now also have 2 Instagram accounts. They'll have one for their family and aunts and uncles, cousins, some cousins, and then they'll have a separate one for their friends, a real one, where they can kind of let loose a small bit more, and you won't question it because you think they only have one account, but they don't, they have 2. And if they don't have a second account, they probably definitely have a private VIP story on Instagram or Snapchat. That's where you go through your friend list and you'll select a certain group of people and it will only show your, say, stories to those people. If you have a son or a daughter on Instagram, you can be guaranteed they have one of these and you're not on it. Not that there's anything bad or anything like that. They just want a bit of privacy from their parents. To have some fun with their friends, you might know the context in which they're having their fun. And you're just not cool enough for this list. If you were cool enough to be on your kid's VIP list, congratulations. That's a big thing. But they probably have a second account. But basically, what I'm trying to say is these live stories are one of the first things that kids go to, and they're very important to them. Mainly Instagram and Snapchat. And maybe because it's live, because it's only there for a few hours, maybe that's why it's one of the first things that they go to, because they have FOMO, they have a fear of missing out. So let's talk about Libby and Anthony Shots. We know they were communicating on Instagram and Snapchat. Any predator would prefer Snapchat because the data and message disappears. It also tells you if the other person took a screenshot. And like I said, I think Kegan said that he did this, but it'd be pretty common as well for young people to do this, to meet on Instagram and then shift the conversation over to Snapchat. I think that's probably what happened in the Anthony Shots and Libby case. And a kind of sad part of Snapchat and Instagram is how crazy it makes people, especially if they think they're in love. I know plenty of people, including myself, I'm not afraid to admit it, who would put public stories on Instagram or Snapchat, but they're not really public. I might be posting it to 400 or 500 people, but the whole intention behind that photograph is to get the attention of one person. Trying to start up a conversation with the person you fancy. You're trying to get a reaction out of them. It might be a picture that it's a place both of you know, maybe somewhere you were together, or just something you know the other person is into, and they're probably going to respond to you when they see it. Or even if they don't respond, they'll see it and think that you're cool. Another aspect of that is young people going to places just for the photograph, just for the Instagram photo, just for the Snapchat story. They don't even want to go there, or they don't want to go out on that night, but they want the photographs. They think it looks cool. So that's the primary reason for them doing that activity or going on that night out, is to get the photograph, not to meet their friends, have good conversations, enjoy themselves. they want that photograph and they're stressed out until they get it. When they do get it, it will get loads of likes on Instagram. If they post it on their story, a lot of people will respond, and that makes them feel good. And I think the primary idea for doing the activity or going to that place is just to get that photograph or the story. They don't even want to go there. And I think that could be the case with the girls that day. Do 2 13-year-old girls really want to go on a hike? Like, if they couldn't take their phones that day and couldn't take photographs, would they want to go? I would think no. And I think that's normal for young girls. That's normal. What's the point of going if no one knows that you were there? Back to Libby. I don't think there was a plan to meet up that day, but I still think she was manipulated into going to that spot on the bridge. I'll explain that in a little bit, but the main reason I don't think there was a solid plan, I'll meet you there at 2 o'clock or something like that, is just the way her family talks about it. They still can't really wrap their heads around it. They say it just doesn't fit. Here is Libby's nana talking about it. She accepts it, but she can't connect the dots. I am playing a few bits from this interview. It was a few days ago. I will link the full one down below in the description box.
I still can't wrap my head around that this was planned. And I was talking to Derek, my son, Libby's dad, just earlier today when this all came out, and I said, I can't see it. I still can't see it. Libby's mom, her mom, Carrie, talked to her about 9 o'clock when she was on her way to work, and Libby was still in bed. And she asked her then, what are you doing? And so they didn't get up till later, and Derek had fixed them pancakes for breakfast. And he said, Mom, that was probably 10 o'clock or so. And he said, when I was in here in the kitchen with them, Abby and Libby were talking, and they were talking about going out because Libby was refinishing a desk. They were talking about going out to refinish a desk. There was no talk about going to the trails. There was no talk in front of anybody in our family. Now, Kelsey has said that she had said something to her earlier, hey, you want to go to the trails? And Kelsey had said no. But that's all that we're aware of that was said. And so when Derek left, because Libby had come out there and I had told her that I had some filing, that she could do that, and then we could go somewhere later. So instead of working on the desk, they started filing for me. And when Derek left, that's what Libby was doing. Nothing at that point in time was ever said about going to the trails. So, and in that transcript, it says Anthony Schatz was the last one to talk to Libby. I don't know what could have been said, whatever, because as far as our family knows and the way things went that day, there was no plans. And Libby was in my office sitting on the floor. We had just gotten a puppy a couple of weeks before, and she was sitting in there on the floor playing with the puppy a little bit while we were getting some more files out. And that's when Kelsey come in and said, hey, I'm going to my boyfriend's house before I go to work. And that's when Libby jumped up and said, hey, would you take us to the trails? And Kelsey said, yeah, but you'll have to get a ride home. And that's when she asked me, and I said I couldn't. So then it was when she called her dad. So there wasn't probably 10, 15 minutes in between when he left and when she called him and said, hey, Kelsey will take me. So for us, when we walk through that morning, we don't see. We aren't seeing where there were any plans for them to go anywhere. So I don't, it's as confusing as anything for us. Even with that stuff out there, we're not connecting the dots.
My heart breaks for that poor woman. She couldn't have seen it coming. She doesn't see it as planned because I don't think it was a planned meetup. I think Libby was manipulated to go into the bridge that day. A seed was planted, a trap was set, but I do think there was a communication in the past with the Anthony Schatz profile about the bridge. We know Libby was there a few times before. Did she post a picture like she did that day on the bridge? Did that then start a conversation with the AS profile? Like, I just wonder, did a picture that Libby posted in the past about that bridge spark a conversation with Anthony Schatz profile? And maybe that stuck out in Libby's mind. Oh wow, Anthony thinks that this is a class spot, that this is a lovely photograph. I need to give him more of this. So then we move on a few weeks later, 12th of February. Libby is having a sleepover. Abby is staying at the house. And obviously, like any girls, they're going to be talking about boys. And probably talking about Anthony Shots, the Anthony Shots profile. And probably even talking to him. Did she mention that she was off the following day? Did she say she was thinking about going to the bridge the following day? Did he react to that? This probably would have been on Snapchat, so I don't think they can get the actual conversation back. They probably will be able to see that a conversation happened. So I do imagine Libby saying something about the bridge that day, maybe Anthony suggesting it as somewhere they go the following day, but I don't think there was a planned meetup. I don't think it was a case of, I'll meet you there at 2 o'clock. It was a bit more sly than that. He might have said, oh cool, send me a picture of that bridge if you do go there. And I think that maybe a past conversation is what gave Libby the motivation to go to the bridge that day, to take that picture. We know she put a picture on her Snapchat. Was this a case of this wasn't for anyone else other than Anthony Shots? Hey, look at me, look where I am. Was she hoping to spark up a conversation, keep it going that day into Valentine's Day the next day? We know that she believed she was in love with him. She wanted his attention. He manipulated her into believing things that weren't real. And going off that morning and what the family say, I don't think there was a planned meetup, but I do think she was manipulated into going to that spot on the bridge. And that was one of the first things she did when she got there. She took the photograph, she uploaded it to Snapchat. Was that to let the Anthony Shots profile know, hey, look at me, I'm here. Look where I am, the place you like. I think that's a real possibility. And I do wonder, has Libby ever taken a photograph from that spot previously and uploaded it to Instagram or Snapchat? If she did, that might give this Terry some credibility. I think that could be the case because her family were and still are blindsided by this. They don't see it. Her nana in that interview also said that when she was told at the start of the investigation that there was no social media connection, she was relieved because she kind of hung her hat on that, and if there was a social media connection, she would blame herself, and now she does a small bit, which is heartbreaking. Here she is talking about that.
In the beginning, there were rumors that maybe this could be social media related. And then we were led to believe that it wasn't social media. So I kind of hung my hat on that because I was afraid to maybe accept that it was social media, because then I let them down. I didn't catch it. So when the transcripts came out and it showed that Libby was talking to somebody on social media, it was hard to face that reality. Well, I'm the adult. I should have kept up. I should have known to look. But it surprises me though, because we did talk to the girls about this kind of stuff. So it wasn't like Libby was totally naive. I feel somehow that this Anthony Shots made her feel comfortable, that she let her guard down. And so I just feel that I let her down, that when we were talking and different things that we would, because she loved crime shows. So we would discuss that kind of stuff. And I just feel maybe we didn't talk strong enough about the dangers. I guess that's where I failed, is because it appears that she had a few apps that I didn't know anything about. I probably wouldn't have caught it anyway, because the apps that she had, several of her friends also had. And I probably wouldn't have thought a whole lot about it. She said, well, I'm talking to so-and-so, I'm talking to so-and-so. And
she shouldn't be blaming herself at all, because there's no way that she could have spotted it. None of you would. If a teenager wants to keep something from you, they will. No problem. It doesn't matter if you have their passwords, you have the best internet security going. There's always a way. She didn't fail the girls in any way. She shouldn't be blaming herself at all. If anything, the opposite, she's helping them. She gave 2 really, really good calls to action at the end of this video. I'm going to play them for you now. One is for parents in the area of any girls to go check any phones that you have stashed in that house or just put away. Ask your kids about them. Any chance that they were talking to the profile, hand it in. And the second one is, use this case as an example. Talk about it with your kids. Show them the dangers. Make sure this doesn't happen to you.
The thing that a parent can do is to talk to their children. You may not be able to monitor them on social media, but you sure can talk to them. And they can use our case as an example. But we just want to help the police to get this out, to share. If you have a child that's in the ages of, let's say, 15 and 23, if you have one of their old phones that's laying in a drawer, go through there. Talk to your teens, your young adults now, because they would have been that age. Did you ever talk to somebody on here? Did you ever use this? If they remember, I talked to somebody, turn it in, even if they can't remember it was him. It's a possibility that they talked to him and didn't realize they talked to him, but somebody kind of gave him the creeps. So, just talk to your children in this age range and talk to your kids. If they're going to get a phone, just let them know that there's predators out there.
She's fantastic. Let me know what you think. Do you think it was a planned meetup, or do you think Libby was manipulated into going to the bridge that day with Abby? Thank you very much to Trixie Star Nisi and Angela Bloom for signing up to my Patreon. There'll be a new podcast out for you tomorrow. Good luck, God bless. I hope today is the day.